One of the other issues which I already said is very important for us is that if we are arriving in a host city, that we have an understanding what are the policy plans for revitalizing the infrastructure. Like in Murcia, when we came there, it was before economical crisis, before October 2008. We were promised that the institutions, the historical venues which we are refurbishing, like the prison, the post office, would be used afterwards as cultural institutions. Sometimes this not come completely true, because in Murcia now the Spanish government is facing very seriously financial consequences of the crisis. So now only 2 institutions are saved, because we keep on saying that this investment in refurbishing historical spaces is a very important part, and we need to know always when we come to a certain host city what would be the function of Manifesta after that. Here you see how we found the spaces in Manifesta that were completely derelict. The post office is kept as a historical heritage moment, patrimonium, official patrimonium. It's an Art Deco building. They wanted to destroy it. Happily, we could restore it, and now it's not going to be a cultural function because there's no money for it, but we negotiated that a casino in Spain is a public meeting space where bourgeois and upper class used to meet, but now it's much more democratized, and it will be a public meeting space. Here you see how those venues were refurbished. On this side you see, this is a mudéjar architectural style. You see how Manifesta refurbished it, and we hope that in the future they're able to use it, the cartel, the atelería. And there you see the post office. The outside was not completely refurbished. We leave this because the casino will do the rest of the work. But you see how, again, and this is also part of the legacy, that these venues, which are mostly in the centers of the cities, are again hopefully in the future, playing an important role in the urban tissue of the cities. Many of the workers, the people who helped us with cleaning and refurbishing the workers, they said, why did the politicians only decided for Manifesta to refurbish it? Why was it closed so long? We could have used the buildings. And this is sometimes, as an outsider, you have a little bit more possibilities to convince the politicians to use it. For the Murcian politicians, it was the first time to see how these historical venues can function as an exhibition venue. On this side, you see the autopsy pavilion. It was completely destructed. It is a beautiful 17th century, and a film of Laurent Grassot, a French artist, was shown in there. This is, and this is also now being kept as a temporarily exhibition space. And here you see the photo of the prison which I described before. How do people outside react on Manifesta? Not everybody is super positive. Some people really like to see Manifesta going in a much more traditional role. Put paintings on the wall. Don't make all this kind of social projects. But I gave like a little bit here, people saying, Manifesta, the European Biennial of Contemporary Art, is monstrous in its size. That's what the Wall Street Journal. It was far too big. 14 venues in 2 cities. Cartagena and Murcia are 40 kilometers far from each other, so you had it. It was stunning in its scope, but uncompromising, experimental in its approach. Why did we do the 2 cities? Maybe this is also interesting. We want people to stay long in the region. We want people to stay in Murcia and Cartagena, not for one day flying in or flying out, but really to stay a little bit longer. And this we succeeded because we made audience reviews in which was proven that most of the people at least had to stay 3 days, otherwise you couldn't see it. Another newspaper said Manifesta is far more than only an exhibition. We don't know if this is positive or negative, but this is true. We're far more than an exhibition. Actually, some people say you're acting like a political party or you're acting like a social program. Another one is a Spanish newspaper, 20 Minutos, who said, how is it possible? In 1 week, 31,000 people visited the venues of Manifesta in Murcia and Cartagena. I always say, let's not be completely proud of ourselves. It's not only about they love contemporary art so much, but everybody wanted to go for the first time in his life inside a prison. So the historical venue is playing part of this vitalization of the Biennale parcours. This is also an interesting one. A certain Daniel of 30 years old said, I went to see the post office, the Correos. I didn't like anything. There was nothing which interested me. So you see, it's not only very positive things. En La Verdad, it's a Spanish national newspaper, said, Manifesta is very interesting for us Spanish people because without judging really the content of contemporary art, the position of Murcia as an unknown agricultural city has proved itself valuable as a cultural hub on the international map for contemporary art, and the politicians should consolidate this position for the future, not stopping after Manifesta to do experimental art shows, but being a generator of contemporary culture for the region. That was it. What I would like to ask you is maybe, because this is like my introduction, but what I really would like to start is, if it is possible, that we have a discussion in which maybe you give your opinion, now knowing a little bit about Manifesta. What role, if Manifesta would come to Lublin, what role could Manifesta play here? Because very important in our discussions is always, we don't want to go to places where we're not wanted. We don't want to go to places where we're not needed. What would be the urge here for Manifesta? Is there an urge here to come? Or do you say, no, rather stay away, we don't need this kind of complexities, we rather build our own museum of contemporary art, or we rather do our own projects? And maybe this is a start for a discussion.